He was a theologian, a pacifist, a spy, and one of the few voices in Nazi Germany who dared to say no. This is the true story of Dietrich Bonhoeffer, the German pastor who stood against the most brutal regime in history and paid for it with his life.
Born in 1906 into a well-educated, aristocratic family in Germany, Dietrich Bonhoeffer was a prodigy. By the age of 21, he had already earned a doctorate in theology. He was destined for a life of books, lectures, and sermons. But history had other plans. In 1933, Adolf Hitler rose to power, and while many in the German church embraced the Nazis, some even calling Hitler a gift from God, Bonhoeffer saw through the lies. He recognized a dangerous truth: the church was being hijacked. Faith was being turned into propaganda. He spoke out immediately, boldly. In radio broadcasts, he warned of a Führer cult emerging in Germany. The broadcast was cut off mid-air. But Bonhoeffer wasn't done.
He helped found the Confessing Church, a movement of Christians who rejected the Nazi-controlled German Christian church. He trained pastors in secret. He wrote, he preached, he refused to swear allegiance to Hitler, and as the Nazi regime darkened, Bonhoeffer's resistance grew bolder. When Jews were being stripped of their rights, Bonhoeffer declared, "The church must not simply bandage the victims under the wheel, it must jam a spoke into the wheel itself." He didn't just believe in faith, he believed in action. In 1939, just before the war broke out, Bonhoeffer had a chance to escape. He fled to New York, safe, free, away from the Nazi grip. But within weeks, he went back. He said, "I must live through this difficult period in our national history with the Christian people of Germany. I will have no right to participate in the reconstruction of Christian life in Germany after the war if I do not share the trials of this time with my people." He chose danger over comfort, principle over safety.
And then came his most shocking decision. Though a pacifist, Bonhoeffer joined a secret German resistance, not just as a supporter, but as part of a plot to assassinate Adolf Hitler. Working under the guise of military intelligence, he used his position to smuggle information, protect Jews, and build connections with the Allies. It was treason. It was faith in action. But in April 1943, Bonhoeffer was arrested. For 18 months, he was held at Tegel prison, writing, praying, waiting. In those letters, we see the soul of a man at peace with death, a man who knew he had done what was right, even if it would cost everything. In April 1945, just weeks before the fall of Berlin, Bonhoeffer was transferred to Flossenburg concentration camp. There, on April 9th, he was executed by hanging. Naked, humiliated, but unbroken, a doctor at the scene would later say, "In the almost 50 years I have worked as a doctor, I have hardly ever seen a man die so entirely submissive to the will of God."
Today, Dietrich Bonhoeffer is remembered as a martyr, a theologian of resistance, a man who lived his beliefs, not just from the pulpit, but in the darkest trenches of history. He reminds us that faith is not passive, that silence in the face of evil is itself evil, that sometimes to do what is right, you must be willing to stand alone. Because Bonhoeffer didn't just preach the gospel, he lived it and died for it